This is QTV News. The headlines. President Edgar Lungu was among Christians of different denominations that observed this year's National Day of Prayer in Kabwe. Veteran broadcaster and former Zambia's Deputy Ambassador to the United States of America, Ben Kangwa, has died. Here now is the news in detail. President Edgar Lungu was among Christians of different denominations that observed this year's National Day of Prayer in Kabwe, Central Province. President Lungu was in the company of First Lady Esther Lungu at the commemoration that were held at Godfrey Talu grounds. And Vice President Inonga Wina has expressed hope that whatever challenges Zambia is currently going through will be resolved with the help of God. Mrs. Wina believes that all problems people go through are not insurmountable with the power God has. Speaking when she graced this year's National Day of Prayer in Lusaka, Mrs. Wina urged Zambians to get encouragement from the Bible's book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5. Mrs. Wina states that with hard work and the trust in God, Zambia is certain to also attain the Vision 2030 of becoming a middle-income country.
Seeking the face of God and calling upon His name in all we do and what we go through. Dear worshippers, this year's National Day of Prayer, fasting, repentance, and reconciliation is being observed under the theme Facing the Future as a Reconciled, United, and Prosperous Nation under God's guidance. This is inspired by the verses in Corinthians 1, 5, 19 to 21, and in 3 John 2.
And in her homily on reconciliation, Salvation Army Church Territorial Commander Margaret Moya called for genuine forgiveness and reconciliation. Ms. Moya says genuine forgiveness and reconciliation should start with political leaders before it cascades to the general public at large. She says the desire for God is for all people to live in harmony with one another, however difficult it may seem.
It's so sweet to see the broken relationship mended. How sweet it is to see a united family or a united nation. Our reconciled relationship is more important than anything else as a country. We cannot develop if we are not united. We all need to take a step towards this reconciling. We should be willing to say, I am sorry, I forgive you, as individuals. The above may seem difficult, but with God's guidance, we can manage. It is my prayer that we will face the future as a reconciled, united, and prosperous nation under God's guidance.
Among the notables that attended the prayers included former Presidents Kenneth Kaunda, Rupia Banda, former Vice President Nevas Mumba, Minister of Works and Supply Felix Mutati, and Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo. President Edgar Lungu has been challenged to explain to the nation why he hardly engages the Zambian people through holding the media briefings. Civil rights activist Brent Bachangala thinks that at a time when the economy of the country is going through a number of economic challenges, the president should engage the people and tell them what is going on. Mr. Changala is of the view that as head of state, President Lungu should have, for example, given his position on the increased price of fuel in the country. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Changala says he is particularly concerned that the president did not see it fit to assure the nation that the price of fuel may reduce in the near future. Mr. Changala has wondered why President Lungu can opt to remain silent over such a worrying development that has resulted in increased prices of other commodities in the country. He says it is not right for President Lungu to allow junior government officials and party functionaries to comment on issues of national concern.
the President of the Republic of Zambia, for some reason known to himself, does not engage the people of Zambia. He can't hold a press conference in which he can outline certain challenges and shortcomings. We have had the fuel increased, and we don't know his position on that. He has not even given us hope that we shall overcome. It's a temporal measure. We have better things that are coming in future. It goes in a disappearing act, missing in action, like Chuck Norris. This is not the way you govern these people. And in the backdrop of this, he unleashes two young men. They are literally destroying the lives of these two young upcoming politicians, Antonio Mwanza and Sande Chanda, defending the indefensible.
Zambians have been urged to be patriotic to their country's economy and help find solutions of how to better its status. BIZED campaign founder Evans Ngoma has particularly called on critics that have observed that the Zambian economy is in a bad state to provide ideas they think will improve the economy. Mr. Ngoma is reminding critics to realize that the economy affects every citizen regardless of political affiliation, and therefore it will not help if they criticize a government without offering solutions. In an interview with the QTV News, Mr. Ngoma says the current situation is opportunity for those who have ambitions to be in government to show to the nation that they have what it takes to govern the people. Mr. Ngoma says, as non-political organization, BIZED holds the view that now is not the time for politicking, but a time for all Zambians to work together. He says the organization believes that solutions to the challenges Zambia is going through lies with the Zambian people themselves.
As BIZED, we are non-political. We will not side with any political party. Ours is to offer solutions and directions to the many challenges that the country is faced with. And so to the people that are criticizing, that are happy that our economic status is dwindling, to them I say, let us all come up in support and offer solutions to the many challenges that we are faced with. You know, at the end of it all, this economy thing is non-selective. Be it party A, B or C, we are all under one sphere and will be affected by any bad economic status. So let us offer solutions. And as BIZED, we will remain firm and issue proper guidance as to what needs to be done in order to spur our economy.
Lusaka-based politician Chris Chinda has urged all leaders of political parties in the country to provide leadership in fostering national unity. Speaking to QTV News, Mr. Chinda says national development can only be achieved if all leaders come together and work together. He says Zambia, being a developing country, relies on the input of everyone citizen in achieving sustainable development. Mr. Chinda states that it is therefore the responsibility of everyone to provide solutions to the many challenges that the country is going through. He says as the country commemorates Independence Day on the 24th of October next week, it is vital that all leaders work together in uniting the people.
This is a developing country. We need concerted effort. We need our leaders to come together and provide leadership. A day like this, National Day of Prayer, Independence Day, these are special days. Independence Day was fought for all of us Zambians. We need the leaders to provide leadership, to bring the people together and bring solutions to the table so that the governing party can take them up and we develop this country. This country is for all of us. This National Day of Prayer is for all of us as well. We might differ in the things that we have done, in the decisions that we have made, but it is a time for us to come together so that we reconcile and forgive each other, we move forward. We might differ in principle, but it's one Zambia that we want to save. We are coming from different backgrounds, we have different political parties, but a time like this, we are all fighting for a better Zambia. It won't do for us if we talk negative about our country.
The Human Rights Commission, HRC, has condemned the harassment of Economic and Equity Party leader Chilufya Tayali by suspected UPND sympathizers at the Lusaka Magistrate Court on Wednesday. Spokesperson Mwelwa Muleya says the harassment and roughing up of Mr. Tayali within the court premises, which resulted in the tearing of his jacket, is regrettable and must be condemned. Mr. Muleya states that such acts of lawlessness should not be allowed in a democratic country like Zambia. In a statement to QTV News, Mr. Muleya says the HRC is of the view that the perpetrators of violence against Mr. Tayali exhibited some levels of intolerance and lacked self-restraint. Mr. Muleya says the Commission is therefore calling upon all those who may be aggrieved by any utterances and actions of Mr. Tayali to refrain from taking the law into their own hands. And he says Mr. Tayali, like any other citizen, has the right to equal protection and the benefit of the law through the courts of law.
Mr. Tayali is already before the courts of law, and therefore it's important, it's cardinal, that justice should be allowed to take its course through the courts of law. Any form of action against Mr. Tayali will be deemed to be extrajudicial action, which will be a violation of his rights and freedoms, and therefore it must not be allowed. It's a hope of the Human Rights Commission that Mr. Tayali's personal security will be guaranteed in his future appearances. To this effect, we want to take this opportunity to commend the Zambia Police Service. We salute the Zambia Police Service for their alertness and quick action by protecting Mr. Tayali from any further action that could have resulted in his punishment or degrading treatment at the hands of his attackers. That's how it should be. The police is there to protect the lives of everyone. Mr.
President Edgar Lungu has been urged to use the latitude of his office to end gun culture and reckless proliferation of all offensive weapons in the country. All People's Congress APC leader Nelson Musoni says it is important that President Lungu ends this culture and ensure that perpetrators of violence are not shielded from prosecution. Mr. Musoni notes that the violence does not resolve matters, and therefore there is need to ensure that no one uses the name of political outfit to commit any heinous crimes against Zambians. He has promised Zambians that under his administration, no cadre will be allowed to or encouraged to mime citizens for political expediency. Government has been urged to decentralize the management of funds to address inefficiencies in the disbursement of finances. Zambia National Education Coalition ZANIC Executive Director George Hamusunga says the decentralization of funds has also resulted in late disbursement to provincial and district offices, thereby affecting the delivery of quality education. And Mr. Hamusunga says he's to this effect displeased that over 19.5 million kwacha meant for the provision of quality education was mismanaged by the Ministry of General Education. He has commended that in order to avoid the reoccurrence of such huge financial loss, government should decentralize the management, the Ministry of General Education budget to the district level. The opposition Third Liberation Movement has referred to President Edgar Lungu's government as a failure. Party leader Enoch Tonga says Zambians are facing hardships because the current government has failed to address issues affecting them. Mr. Tonga has told QTV News in an interview that President Lungu and his ministers have failed to deliver on election campaign promises of creating jobs, stabilizing the economy and implementing social programs to uplift Zambians out of poverty. He has called on the government as a matter of urgency to address issues affecting the economy and prove that it is serious about transforming the economy.
The performance of the economy in the Republic of Zambia is very, very bad. Bad in the sense that it is my first time that I'm buying petrol or fuel in the Republic of Zambia at this rate under the leadership of Edgar Lungu and his team. It's my first time that I'm able, to go and pay for necessities that I need to buy for at a very expensive rate. Okay, yesterday they told you, we have adjusted the minimum wage. The following day, the dollar goes up. The following day, fuel goes up. It means everything has been adjusted upward. And what have you done? All crookedness. So all we are saying that is the worst ever in our life, a time, as far as we can remember in the Republic of Zambia. They are totally failing us. For themselves, it's okay. For the people of Zambia, it is serious difficulties. And everybody is able to see what is going on. I can assure you that no one can say the economy is doing very well. This time around, it is worse because they've been borrowing money. That money goes into their own pockets without using that money for the benefit of the people of Zambia. Of course, that money comes from China, a country that Edgar Lungu loves so much. And we want to add to that, to say that the stay of the Chinese in the Republic of Zambia is basically limited in the sense that you are staying in the Republic of Zambia simply because this person called Edgar Lungu is defending you. But our question is, in the absence of this person called Edgar Lungu, what happens? So, all in all, the economy has terribly tumbled. It's not performing well to the best interest of the people of Zambia, only for the politicians. That is our position.
Central Province Permanent Secretary Chandakabwe has described the just-ended Central Province Investment Forum and Expo as a success. Mr. Kabwe is optimistic that following the successful holding of the Provincial Expo, doors for investment in various sectors of the economy and the province have now been opened. He says his administration is set to go flat out in implementing activities that will enhance development in the province. Mr. Kabwe says his administration will be meeting some foreign investors who have expressed interest to invest in the tourism sector of the province.
As I'm speaking to you, we are meeting some of investors who came yesterday from, 4 of them, they came from Sweden, 1 came from Sudan. They are all lodged here in Lusaka. They thought the expo starts on the 16th to the 20th. So they arrived yesterday. I think you remember the initial ones were supposed to be the 16th to the 20th. They arrived yesterday. They are looking at the tourism, to put up lodges in the tourism industry. So we'll meet them in Lusaka just now so that we see and take them to the sites where they want to visit away from the expo. So we believe that this expo will bring a lot of opportunities to the people of Central Province. Being at the center of Zambia, being the backbone of Zambia, we believe that the rural communities will be opened up. And we believe that the ended investment expo is a sure way of taking development to the rural parts of Central Province. So the young people, jobs are coming, business opportunities are coming, and the value chain, when investors come to invest, the value chain is immense. You see, I can give you one example how we are going to benefit. We have a factory in Kapiri that will be making grass. We are all aware of Kapiri grass. Now we have Eagle manufacturing grass. At the construction stage, we have about 990 workers. When they finish by the end of this year, that factory will create 2,000 jobs. What it simply means is 2,000 young people within Kapiri and beyond Kapiri will be employed. When they are employed, they will have money to buy a tomato, fresh vegetables from a farmer. So a farmer will grow and increase because somebody is able to buy their farm produce. The banks will have business opportunities because the 2,000 people that will be employed, definitely they're going to open a bank accounts. It's not that you are going to pay them through the window. They will go and get their money through the bank. So the banks will get business through those people who will be employed.
The opposition United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia UPPZ says prayer is important for the nation regardless of who calls for such plea to God to be made. UPPZ spokesperson Francis Kope has told the QTV News in an interview that there is need to be together in spirit whether people attend the National Day of Prayer or not. He says the National Day of Prayer should not, however, be left to those in government alone, but that every Zambian should observe the day. Mr. Kope says it is a responsibility of every Zambian to make sure that the declaration of Zambia as a Christian nation comes to fruition.
What I would like to urge the people of Zambia is that prayer is important. It doesn't matter who calls for those particular prayer is very, very important. We need to be together in spirit, whether you attend or you don't. But the most important thing is the mood that you're going to be as a country. We need to reflect on where we're coming from. We need to reflect even on the declaration of Zambia as a Christian nation. We need to reflect because it's a collective responsibility of everyone in this country to make sure that the declaration of Zambia as a Christian nation, comes to fruition through what will be happening in this country. The Bible says, "Blessed is a nation whose God is the Lord." So we need to take that responsibility as citizens. Let us not leave it to the leaders, and when we see them oppressing us. Christ is talking about don't follow what the Pharisees do. They like making long prayers and they like showing that they know God and all those things. So perhaps we can learn a lot from the teachings of Christ. What would like
Kapoche Member of Parliament Charles Banda says he is committed to ensuring the provision of quality healthcare in his constituency. Mr. Banda says he has embarked on a robust infrastructure development program in partnership with the Ministry of Health to upgrade and construct health facilities in the area. He has disclosed that so far construction of 3 clinics has been completed, which are Kondolani Clinic, Chikalava Clinic and Mlela Clinic in Kapungwe Ward. Mr. Banda, who is also Minister of Tourism and Arts, says all the clinics come with houses for the health personnel. He is optimistic that the Ministry of Health will soon send staff to the completed clinic so that they can start providing health services to the residents of Kapoche and surrounding areas.
We have promised people health facilities in the constituency, and among the things that we have done, we have completed the Kondolani Clinic. The entire infrastructure has been done. The houses for staff, about 5 houses have been done. All we are waiting for is the Ministry of Health to send staff there, equipment and everything else, and start operating. I want to tell you also that we have completed the Chikalava Clinic. All we are waiting for is the staff to be sent there by the Ministry of Health. We've already handed over to the council. We have also completed the Mlela Clinic, that is in Kapungwe Ward. It has been done. All we are waiting for is the staff to be sent there. That one is even much advanced because we have even put a borehole there. We have even put a solar there. So everything is in place. We have
Southern Province Permanent Secretary Mwangala Liomba is disappointed with the apathy exhibited by people in the province towards the ongoing review of the Public Order Act in the provincial capital. Speaking at the meeting in Choma, Mr. Liomba expressed sadness at the residents' failure to appreciate the opportunity government has provided for people to submit their views. He notes that peace is the interest of all Zambians and wondered why some people cannot appreciate an opportunity to amend the act which they criticize. Mr. Liomba has, however, commended those that have turned out to make submissions, adding that they will be quoted on behalf of the province. And a check by Zanis found less than 10 people making submissions per sitting at Choma's Leon's Conference Hall. Among political stakeholders, only the National Democratic Congress Party, NDC, is reported to have so far made submissions towards the review of the Public Order Act. On that note, we end the news, but before we go, here is a recap of stories in the headlines. President Edgar Lungu was among Christians of different denominations that observed this year's National Day of Prayer and Kabul. Veteran broadcaster and former Zambia's Deputy Ambassador to the United States of America, Ben Kangwa, has died. Hello, enemies. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye. God bless.